everyone, and welcome to a brand new video. Today we have one of the most requested videos in the history of the channel. So I said well, let's calm down. I hadn't uploaded it because I truly wanted to gather all the information I could to make it all more mysterious and interesting. So you would say, oh my god, so scary. But anyway, before we begin, don't forget to follow me in all my social media, so go follow me right now. And without anything else to say, let's start. The mysterious case of Elisa Lam. Elisa Lam was a woman of Canadian origin, and her parents were from Hong Kong, hence her Asian features. She was born in Hong Kong but lived almost all her life in Canada. She was born on April 30, 1991, which means that when she died, she was only 21 years old. Besides, she was a student in the University of British Columbia, Vancouver, Canada. The story of this girl began in January 2013. She arrived to Los Angeles and stayed at a very renowned hotel, although not at that time but in the 20s and also in the 50s, called Hotel Cecil. I say that because it's not as popular anymore, it doesn't have a good reputation, but in that time in the 20s and in the 50s, it was very renowned, one of the most luxurious ones, and all of the stars almost always stayed there. It is said that she went to Los Angeles just to be one more tourist, so she went there to see the sights and, well, have fun. She seemed to be a normal girl, completely normal one. Even now, her Twitter still exists, so if you want to see it, you can check it out. But she was a normal girl, she posted normal pictures, she said normal things, she had a Tumblr account just like us. During her trip, she spoke every day with her parents through Skype. There wasn't a date in which she didn't text them to say I'm fine, she said hi and told them what she did today, until January 31. Her parents got really worried. They tried to look for her like, hey, what happened with our daughter? She's not replying. They were so worried that they went to the police and denounced the case. The Los Angeles police went to the hotel, checked the room, there wasn't anything, there was any problem, there was no mess, there wasn't a sign of violence or anything like that. The room was in a perfect state. And so 3 weeks passed and they didn't know anything about her. And here is when things got hardcore ugly. Precisely on the 19th of February 2013, the guests started complaining about an odd taste in the water. It was like they tried to take a shower and the water came down brown and like you.
The water did have funny taste.
It wasn't right.
When you turned the tap on, the water was coming black first for 2 seconds and then it was going back to normal.
If the water's coming out brown, I wouldn't even drink it. Clearly, the hotel managers and, well, the maintenance people say, wait, let's check the water tanks. There were 4 water tanks on the roof, so they started opening one by one like, no, this is fine, this is fine. When, shockingly, they found Elisa Lam's decomposed body in the last water tank. And it wasn't just any scene because she hadn't died recently, but 19 days before. She had been there for 2 weeks inside that tank, rotting away. Imagine that, people drinking Elisa Lam water. And here's when all this case began, for it's one of the most mysterious cases that had happened in history. It hasn't been solved yet. After finding her in the tank, they obviously decide to check the security cameras to know what had happened, how her last moments in the hotel had been. They wanted to check what had happened to her, if she had gone up there with some killer, and this was what they found. This is the video of Elisa Lam's last moments from the day she was murdered or the day she died, because it's unknown. As you can see, it's very disturbing, at least for me, because she's inside the elevator doing very odd things. It's like she's hiding from someone. She doesn't know where to come out or not. She's completely freaked out. And after minute 1, she even started doing some very weird movements with her hands. For me, that's not human, that's not normal, and it's very scary. You know, I believe in possessions. I believe a lot in that kind of stuff, so maybe it has something to do with that. If you want to watch it, the video, it's on the internet. You can clearly look for it on YouTube. It's the full video of her hiding in the elevator, but we'll come back to this video later. For now, there are 3 main theories that people mentioned which could explain the reason she died or committed suicide, or she was killed. The first one is obviously from the police. I think this one came out because the rush to explain what happened and to avoid linking it with supernatural odd stuff, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. Basically, they say that Elisa Lam had mental issues and her death was likely a suicide because of those issues. She suffered from depression, she had some things in her head, she imagined things like some kind of psychosis, paranoia, or something like that, so that explained her behavior on the elevator, but that doesn't make sense for me. The parents obviously stepped out to refuse that and to defend her. Her friends also say that she had never had mental issues, that she never went to a psychiatrist, and she had never suffered from depression, and that she was completely a normal woman. Even in some interviews they did, they talk and say like, it doesn't make any sense, we don't know what happened because she was a completely normal girl. The police officers say that have found pills and sedatives in her bags and suitcase, but everything is very odd because when they did the autopsy, they didn't find any signs of drug or alcohol abuse. The second theory, and this is the most reasonable for me, and I also think it's the main reason, had to do with the paranormal and the possessions topic. There are some very important details that I didn't mention before. And that is that accessing the hotel roof, it's impossible for a guest that's staying there or someone who's not an employee. They have doors that only unlock with the special keys only the hotel staff have. And when a door is opened, an alarm system gets activated if you don't know how to disarm it or if you're a stranger trying to do it. What was odd was that day the alarm didn't get activated, nothing was heard, not even knew she was up there, so it was very strange. Now let's talk about this paranormal theory, which is the one that makes the most sense to me. And as you saw, Elisa's reactions were supremely odd in the elevator. It seemed as if that wasn't her, and besides, it seemed as she was running from someone who wasn't there. I mean, you can see at that moment someone passing and she's hiding, like trying to flee, but you can't see. Besides, if you watch the video, all the time that she's in there, she's trying to close the doors, but the doors won't close, not even when she's pressing all the buttons. Also, when she goes away, when she steps out, the doors then close and opens again and close and opens again. That doesn't make any sense. That's when people say it was probably something like that, for getting into one of those tanks was also very impossible. For the way they are sealed, it's impossible for just one person to open them. And even more so for a person like her, with her weight, with her being young, Asian girl who are often slim and not very tall. It would have been very hard for her to open it on her own, so maybe there was a paranormal force inside of her allowing it to open it. I think that's very reasonable explanation for her going up to the roof without anyone noticing. The spirit could have done many things so the alarm didn't go off and no one knew she was there. And besides, when they found her, she was naked and her clothes were on the sides. That's very odd. And here goes an explanation that makes me believe this was a paranormal thing and many people think like this. It's all because of this hotel history. I told you at the beginning we were going to come back to this. As I told you, it was very popular in the 20s and the 50s in the past century. It was supremely renowned, it was very luxurious, and it was a hotel with many guests. Two very known serial killers in the history of USA stayed in this hotel. One of them was called Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, and also Jake Unterweger, also known as the Vienna Murderer. Both with very bloody, horrible serial killers who also played a lot with black magic and demonic possessions stuff. They even killed several people inside the hotel. Richard Ramirez, one of those serial killers, paid $14 in 1985, which was a lot of money back then, to stay in the 14th floor of that same hotel. And there he killed 14 people. It's very curious because he paid $14, stayed on the 14th floor, and killed 14 people. 6 years later, the other serial killer I mentioned, called Unterweger, stayed in the hotel for a long time and killed hundreds of prostitutes where he was living there. I mean, I don't understand how they didn't close that hotel. Besides, the very renowned Aleister Crowley lived in the land that would become the hotel, and for those who don't know, he was a very famous occultist. We know the hotel didn't exist back then in the 1800s, but he created many poems and horrifying satanic stuff in that land. I think that when something like that happened in a piece of land and someone builds on the top, that remains there. I do believe that. Besides, one of the poems he wrote was discovered, and it was called The Lamp. The poem even talked about the death of a person linked with a tower and water. I mean, those are a lot of coincidences because her last name was Lamb and she died by drowning in a water tank. In 1962, a suicide also happened there, in which Pauline Otten, who was 27 years old, decided to jump off of one of the hotel windows. What's most curious about that is that when she fell on top of a pedestrian and she killed him too. 2 years later, another woman called Goldie Osgood was found raped and strangled in the hotel. And another case is Elizabeth Schwartz, who was a very important model in 1940s. She decided to be the face and the model of this hotel, and her case is known as the Black Dahlia case. And she also stayed at the hotel. One day after she stayed at the hotel, she was found mutilated and torn apart just a few blocks from there in 1947. And so there had been many stories like those in that hotel, murders, deaths, and not only that, but the guests have also reported a lot of paranormal activity there. One of them had this experience. I wanted to spend several nights at the Hotel Cecil. One of them, I was in my room and woke up with the sensation that I was being strangled. I was drenched in sweat and couldn't move nor ask for help. I literally thought I was going to die in that room. That feeling left me at last. I ran out of the room and went down to the reception where the night shift receptionist was. After catching my breath, I told the employee what had happened. The receptionist told me that actually someone had been murdered in that room. I didn't sleep another night in that room. I mean, let's calm down. Another of the paranormal activity reports that surround the hotel was told by a man called Bernard Diaz, who say that precisely the day Elisa had been murdered, he had heard some banging in the room top of his. And he say that for some reason his room has suffered from a very odd floating that day. I mean, like, what? I don't know about you, but for me this is the explanation that makes the most sense, a demon or some other thing, because that place has such a negative amount of energy that could have happened. I mean, believe me, I'm sure that was what happened. And lastly, there's another explanation. Basically, they say that Elisa was murdered by the US government. How come? Yes. They say that for starters, that wasn't an appropriate hotel for a 20-year-old, that it was very odd for her to have stayed right at that hotel, for now it's located in one of the most horrible areas of Los Angeles. That area of that city has one of the worst reputation in this moment. And here's another very odd thing, for they say that around those days, there was a supremely rare outbreak of tuberculosis in that area of Los Angeles and affected a people who lived there. It is said that the government experimented on those people to look for some kind of cure, and they say that the test was really official and it is actually called like that, Lamp Elisa. Lamp Elisa, I don't know, but it makes a lot of sense. It might have something to do with her. Besides, they say that on the 13th of January, she posted a tweet on her Twitter account, which I'll leave in the description. She posted an article from the Huffington Post that talked about some Canadian enterprises that were working with the government to create some kind of material that allowed soldiers to be invisible. And it is said that the project was precisely between South Korea and the US. They say that back then, the day she died, as she became popular in the media outlets, many people started creating fake Facebook profiles to take advantage of those 5 minutes of fame. However, they found a Facebook account that apparently did belong to her, which was called Lamp Elisa. That profile only had one friend and was a man, an American soldier that work in Korea, so I don't know. There are many theories surrounding the death, but these are the 3 main ones. I want you to tell me which one you think could be the right one. I truly think it's the second one. All the paranormal stuff makes sense. Besides, if you're like me and believe in that kind of things, I think this makes sense. And that was everything for this video. I hope you like it a lot. Please leave a thumbs up. Don't forget to follow me on my social media and also on my Twitter and Instagram where I upload extra content and cool stuff. And the most important thing, to subscribe to this channel and activate the notification bell so it lets you know when I upload a video. That's everything for this video. Thank you so much for watching me. Don't forget to follow your dreams and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching me. I love you. Bye.